Welcome back to continue our discussion on our Parents' Guide to Gangs. Joining me again is Marvin Blades. You're a retired Tulsa Police Department officer. I always put that in there of 31 years experience, 8 years with gangs.
Yes.
Currently with Tulsa Public Schools Campus Police and president of the 100 Black Men.
That's correct.
Now let's jump in. When we left the first segment, we were talking about terminology that we need to kind of have an understanding of. We're hearing things because sometimes I may be hearing things and not even think anything of it, but yet they're talking in their lingo that I need to be more aware of. Before I get specifically into that, I do want to talk about and frame for our parents and others some general identifiers, and we'll get more specific with them too. But in general, get my little cheat sheet so I won't run out of time as much. Colors. In general, what is the significance of colors and how extensive might you find them? Can you find them in hair and in the kind of, especially for girls are in gangs too, the hair beads they wear or the different colors in their hair. Tell me a little bit about colors and where you might find them in general.
Colors are extremely important to a young person that's claiming gang membership. It separates them from other groups. It makes them unique, and it shows that I fit into my group.
Okay.
The colors can also be your flag. That's your, it's so important to some kids that if a kid has a bandana that's in their gang's color, and an opposing gang or another person take that bandana, drops it on the ground, that's an assault. It causes that kid to react in such a way that sometimes it leads to fights, violent actions.
So extremely significant.
No, very significant.
And you can find it in beading and even how hair is done and shoes and things like that. And
wristbands.
Okay.
All kind of different ways with schools having dress codes. To get around the dress codes, a lot of times they'll do the shoestrings. They'll do the shaving the eyebrows. They'll wear earrings that are a certain color.
Okay.
They'll wear beads that are a certain color to let those who understand the gang mentality know what they're doing and what group they associate with.
Okay. What about general things of signs and symbols and numbers? In general, what role does that play in a gang?
It's also important. When you see a young man wearing a, let's say a Denver Bronco shirt, and they got the number 54, if you don't know what's going on, that 54 is significant. It's significant because 54 can be the particular set that you associate with. The 5-4, 54th Street Hoovers, 54th Street neighborhood. So it's very important when you start looking at numbers.
Okay, and we are going to look at clothing and sporting attire in just a little bit and let you clarify the importance of that in terms of gang selection. What about music? The kind of music they may listen to?
Well, I don't want to disparage rap music because some of it is positive. But when you look at the gangster rap is designed to a lot of times to inflame kids or excite kids to do things they probably wouldn't normally do. It denigrates females. It makes statements a lot of times about what gang I associate with, what street I live on, what kind of violence, whether I'm carrying a gun, whether I'm not carrying a gun. So there's hidden message a lot of times in gangster rap that I hear a lot of times that kids play.
Okay. What about hand signs and graffiti?
Hand signs are important. Graffiti is important it's like the newspaper of the streets. It basically tells what groups are residing in a particular neighborhood. A lot of times it'll tell what members have, it'll do a roll call, and a lot of times you'll have a list of homeboys or homies that are no longer here with us. And it can be like a memorial on a wall. So it also can tell you what groups they're having problems with. You can see the number 187, and right below that number you see a name. It tells you that particular gang has a problem with that young man. 187 is the California Penal Code for homicide, and they use it almost nationwide.
Okay. What about tattoos and brandings and scratchings?
Well, young people who can't afford a tattoo, they'll take an eraser, they'll take their fingernails, and they'll actually scratch 5-4, 6 tray, numbers or signs, things on their arms. And then they'll follow that with ink, and in the scratches they'll put ink. They don't think about sanitary or whatever. They just do that so they can let people know that I'm down for this set. that I'm ready to do whatever it takes to show people that I'm a member of it.
Okay, so looking more than just for the tattoos, which sometimes we might see more visibly, looking more closely as a parent or those that are involved with kids are concerned at actually what the arm is looking like otherwise.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Now the hand signs, I kind of went over that kind of quickly, but you talked about the graffiti, but the hand signs in terms of how they may do different signs among themselves, sometimes we might think nothing of it, but they're sending messages or relating to one another through hand signs.
Oh, yes. A hand sign can tell another gang member that we're in the same set, maybe from a different city, that we're in the same gang, possibly from a different area of the city. But it can also show an opposing gang that I got a problem with your gang. I can throw up your gang set and drop that middle finger as I throw it up, and that's offensive to the person that I'm dealing with. It can lead to a fight, it can lead to a shooting, it can lead to violence.
Okay, wow. Let's look a little bit at some of these other sort of terminologies in language. You mentioned 187 was the penal code for murder, California penal code for homicide. So if you see that or they're talking about a 187, they're talking about something involving murder.
That's correct.
Okay, here's another one. A slave. What is a slave?
A slave is a job. It's a job that, in a gang member's mentality, that a square works, a 9 to 5, a job where you actually got to go get your hands dirty or do manual labor. That's what a gang member, when they talk about a slave.
Okay, the 5-0. I think of Hawaii 5-0 as the police. I mean, am I on the right?
And really, that's where it came from.
Okay.
5-0 just refers to law enforcement, and that can be federal law enforcement, local law enforcement, sheriff department. They refer all those as being called 5-0s.
Okay, if they said somebody was in a 64, what is that?
64 Chevy, that's a car. That's a real popular car with well, at one time it was a real popular car with gang members. And, I'm driving my 64 on shiny D's. D's are the wheels, the shiny wheels.
Okay.
And I'm rolling in the hood, so, you throw all that together. It can be a rap song. It can be a message
that they're sending.
Yes.
Okay. What are the county mounties?
County mounties, they're referring to the sheriff department.
Okay. All right. And the hypo?
Highway patrol.
Okay. Now, if they were to say that they have a deuce, well, I mean, we're thinking 2 2s. I mean,
it is 2-2. It's the caliber of a gunner.
Okay.
You're talking about a 22 caliber. It can be a handgun or a 22 rifle.
Okay. What if they're talking about a grill? I mean, we might think they're talking about food,
You see these kids running around with the golden teeth. They're talking about your teeth. They're talking about your mouth when they talk about the grill.
Okay. What about a 5150?
5150. That 5150.
Okay.
No, 5150. That actually comes from California too.
Okay.
In Oklahoma, law enforcement, when we a person that's mentally out of control, we actually got a statute here where we can. It's called an emergency order of detention, where we can actually take them into custody and do whatever. In California, it's called a 5150. So when law enforcement take a person that's, when the gang members use it, it means crazy.
All right.
5150 means a crazy
If you hear them
person,
on the phone talking about a 5150, you kind of can key in on that. What if they're talking about heat? You hear your child talking about heat.
Heat is just another method of saying gun. I got heat on me, I'm talking about I got a gun on me.
Okay.
I'm armed, I'm strapped.
Okay, let me ask one other quick one before we have to go to break. If we talk about drop a dime, what is drop a dime?
You snitching. Dropping a dime, remember the old telephones when you go in the telephone booth, you made a phone call?
Yeah.
That's dropping a dime.
Okay, so they connect that to being a snitch. Oh my goodness. And then hate, if they're talking about hate, they're talking about?
Hate can be, I'm talking about your clothing, talking about the way you look, or you got something that I want and I'm just, I'm just ragging on you.
Okay, so it's actually something that they really may want that you have, not that they, okay.
It can be.
All right. We're going to take a really quick break, pick up on a few and get to some clothing items.
Okay.
Please stay with us. We'll be right back.